Welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of the Creative Genius Knot podcast. I've got heaps of new awesome things lined up for you. It's time to fill up that cup, my friends, if ethical values and innovation are something you want to learn more about. You're in the right place for sustainability, health and well-being, not just of each other, but for our planet too. I don't play favourites with my episodes, but this one is absolutely up there. I talked to Adrian, one of the founders of Deserto, who along with co-founder Marty has created a vegan leather from cactus juice. Yep, I did say cactus juice. We talk about the driving force behind Deserto and their mission to preserve animal life and the environment while working with nature to reduce the footprint and change the fashion industry with their ethical alternative to animal leather. So sit back, get comfy, grab a brew and listen in as we explore innovation in fashion with Deserto. I'll kick things off then with first of all, just saying thank you so much for taking the time. And a good starting point might be you just telling us a little bit about what you do and your business, really.
Well, thank you for the invitation. This company has been founded by me and Marty. We had experience working in the fashion industry, in automotive industry, even in furniture. We saw that these industries were facing a big challenge, a big problem in terms of waste generation, waste accumulation, biodiversity harm because of the feedstocks they were using, and the huge environmental footprint that they were having in their processes. So, personally speaking, I love animals. You know, I am a big fan of animals. I have 3 dogs, and I just don't share the idea of having like leather goods. You know, it's just like animal cruelty, something that I don't. I'm not happy with it at all. And we were discussing what could we do to change this industry, to make it like a shift to non-animal, like a leather alternatives. But on the other side of the coin, then you have like the PVC and all these toxic materials. And so we said like, okay, why don't we just create something that it's plant-based, it's sustainable, it can give you an aspect like leather. And it was just an idea at the beginning. And then we started just to work on it. And it took us a while, but we made a material from cactus that looks like leather. And it doesn't have the chemical toxicity like in synthetics or even animal. And it doesn't have any cruelty on it. So that was the main the main motivation. Mm-hmm. Was to preserve animal life and also the environment.
That sounds fantastic. It's funny actually, because I actually shared my agency is an ethical marketing agency, and so it's very. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram. It's all very green and very much about taking care of the planet and each other and animals, etc. And right. So I actually shared, I think it must have been, I don't know where in your journey of releasing this product was, but I came across what you did and I shared it on my Instagram because I was just blown away by just like how innovative it was, really. And it was quite exciting. And since then I've sort of followed your journey and watched how it's really taking off. Like, people are really, the products themselves look fantastic. And I'm just so interested to learn more about kind of the process. And so you mentioned that you worked in furniture. Why personally did you think to take the step into the fashion world, and why cactus? How did that come about?
It's a funny question because I've been in so many different industries. I consider myself someone that likes to learn as much as possible, and then is never happy with staying in one area and is always jumping. So I did fashion, I did furniture, I did automotive. And then Marte was also like involved in fashion and relevant industries to what we finally ended up doing. And we thought cactus because we were in Mexico. Here it's loaded with cactuses, and we say, okay, so if you look at this plant, it's like it doesn't need any irrigation, it doesn't need a special care, you don't have to apply herbicides, pesticides. It grows naturally in the region. When we were thinking of relying on a plant as a feedstock, we have to make sure that it was going to be a sustainable process, because not only because it is a plant, it means that it is sustainable. Like for example, deforesting to getting feedstock from trees is not sustainable. And so we didn't want to do the same thing. And then we had to plan how was our supply chain going to be made and structured, which kind of feedstock were we going to use, and how not to affect biodiversity. And so, just cactus sounded so familiar, being like a Mexican, sing it like in your dishes, in the flag, in everywhere, in cartoons. It's just like, well, if we can use cactus, it will be amazing. We didn't know if it was even possible or not, but we just tried. And within the cactus world, there are about 1,700 species, and we narrow our efforts down to one family that fortunately is the most abundant in Mexico. So it's great. It grows fast. We don't affect the biodiversity because the lands where the cactus is planted and farmed, those lands were previously open to agricultural processes before. So there is no deforestation by our end. We are actually foresting those lands with this cactus, which is native from the region. So the plantations blend with the wild flora and fauna. And so in that sense, we are contributing to restoring the natural biodiversity of the place. And that's very important because sometimes, land is our most valuable resource in the world. We have 70% is water, 30% is land, and only 10% of it is land that can be actually farmed. And so if what we're doing here is maximizing the use of these lands with the cactus plantation, which is not only for our industry for making the certo, but the byproduct is directed to the food industry. And it can be applied to the food industry or directed to the food industry. The transfer that we are doing to the fields, we are adding value to this feedstock. Like, for example, in Mexico, for many years, the cactus leaf, raw as it is, has been sold in the markets, and it's a traditional dish here. But because of the technology transfer that we have made and the further processing on it, then the international markets are interested, and they are already buying in Thailand, in Czech Republic, in United States, because then they can do so many other products with this cactus feedstock, because it is already processed and can be made into much more elaborated products like beer even. There is a company brewing beer with the cactus, and in Thailand they do dietary supplements, they do pills because it has a lot of vitamins and minerals. And so I think it's a win-win, because every year in Mexico we lose about 200 acres of cactus farms, because the farmers don't find it interesting anymore. They just, the prices are too volatile. They fluctuate too much, so they just don't have interest in planting it anymore. And with the technology transfer that we are applying there, it is becoming a more interesting business for them too. That's the idea, not to have a cross industry conflict, but to benefit from a shared source of feedstock. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. You mentioned that there's lots of different families of cactus. During this journey, you kind of explored different ones, but you ended up choosing the one that's kind of native to region that you live in or that you work in. What type of cactus is that, and why was that the best type for this process?
The name is Opuntia ficus indica, and the reason why we chose that one is because, well, it's for many reasons. The first one is it is the most abundant species in Mexico, and even in that region, which is central northern part of Mexico, it is the highest concentration, farm and wild, in the world. So that means that this plant can grow there at a much more efficient rate because of the altitude and the properties of the land. So it takes only 6 to 8 months for one cactus to grow into a mature plant.
Wow.
And then when it becomes a mature plant, then we can harvest it. We just cut the leaves so the plant is left unharmed to enable repeat harvesting. And so in that sense, we are not eroding the soil. It is actually being restored by the plant itself, because this is a perennial plantation. The cactus is going to stay there, enriching the microflora, the microfauna of the soil. And this is very different from other agricultural crops, like, for example, corn. There is a lot of land use change. So they are degrading the properties of the soil. And what we are doing here is that we are taking those degraded lands, and then we are planting a native plant which do not require any chemicals. And then, because it will stay there for many years, while we still can cut and use the feedstock from their leaves, the plants, the roots, start to regenerate the microflora and the microfauna of the land. So it's like working with nature. It's like, okay, you give me something, but the plant is like restoring the land, This cactus also has the biomass of it. It's very rich. And also the spikes are very small and soft. So it's like for the agricultural team to harvest is very safe. It's very, very resistant to bugs. It's resistant to cold weather. It can handle -3, -5. I mean, very cold for us in Mexico. So because some other plants will, they burn out. And here, the cactus in that region, because it's ideal, this doesn't happen. So it's just a great feedstock to rely on, because we don't apply any water, irrigation. It's completely self-sustained. All cactuses are crassulation acid metabolism plants, CAM class plants. This is very different from 90% of the plants that we know that are around the world. These are C3 class. These are like the chlorophyll metabolism plants, they work during daytime and they generate chlorophyll, absorb CO2, and then generate oxygen. And so these crassulation acid metabolism cactuses are very different in a way that to create 1 kilogram of biomass, they only need 200 liters of water, and C3 class species in average need 1,000. So you are talking that cactus grows the same with 200 liters, and then the other ones need 1,000 liters to create 1 kilogram. Wow. And then if you really think about it, is like cactus, where does it normally grow? In the desert, where there is no water, nobody really apply irrigation to it. So then the next question is okay, so what about these 200 liters? How are these 200 liters applied? Is it by rain? Is it by what? And the reality is that cactus has a very efficient hydroscopic mechanism. Hydroscopic means that it absorbs the water it needs from the humidity present in the atmosphere. In the early morning, it opens its stoma, and from the morning dew, it's where it absorbs the water, it contains it during the day, and then when it's nighttime, opposite from all the other plants is where it starts to operate. The metabolism is awake and start to use all this water and all these nutrients that has been holding during all the day. So the metabolism is just incredibly sustainable and efficient, and making that a feedstock for a production of something makes it ideal, because then you are reducing water usage, chemical usage, and it just grows like very quickly. So it makes it an ideal feedstock. If you think about it, like for example, cotton. I have cotton plantations. 90% of cotton plantations in the world are not organic because they use herbicides, pesticides. Besides, all of them are water intensive. I mean, some of them claim that most of the water they use is from rain, but in some places it's not true, and that doesn't take the fact away that by applying all these toxic herbicides and pesticides, they are polluting the water that eventually ends up in rivers or is absorbed by land. It's a natural plant, but because it's overexploited, and they have to rely on fertilizers, and they are exploiting land and trying to get as much as possible, and it's like working against nature. It's just like, why are you planting cactus why do you have to apply like herbicides, pesticides, and that much water to a plantation? It's just, there's something wrong. Either it's not native from the region, or you are already like out of the planetary boundaries, or what that land can give you. You are exploiting it, you are forcing it, and nothing good can come out of it. What we are doing here is like, okay, the cactus plantation, first is about sourcing the right land. Which land am I going to use? Am I going to deforest to plant my crops, or am I going to rely on land that was previously used by other like agricultural purposes, that was abandoned? It was already like abuse, and so in this sense we say, okay, so here is where I can work, and then you start to plant crops that are native from that region, so you don't have to then rely on chemistry. There are so many things that are taken into consideration, and then this cactus feedstock has to be transported to Mexico City to the laboratory. We blend it with organic pigments, with additives. That's where we make our the material mix, and then we build the materials depending on what the final application is going to be or what the customer is looking for. Our aim is to reduce the footprint of the material, footprint in general. I'm talking about carbon footprint, water consumption, chemical consumption, making sure that there is traceability, there is no child labor, no exploitation, fair wages in place, human rights applied. There is a code of conduct that is tying all the suppliers of feedstocks. So we know when you build a pair of shoes or a handbag or something, you know what was the cost of it. Yeah, not only in terms of the organic plant-based content within it, but what happened around for having it. There is a cost that is not often taken into consideration, which is the human cost, the environmental cost, animal cost.
Yeah.
There are so many other things. Yeah.
So I noticed obviously that having been sent a bit of information about it, that you're sort of saying that it's water resistant, it's breathable, it's bacteria, so it fights against sort of mildew resistant, no stain, easy to clean. Were they all factors that in the process of making this material, obviously your first and foremost was making sure it's a sustainable process and natural, fully natural, but then were they things that you had to consider later when you were maybe putting those with other minerals and materials to make sure that it still was able to be something that was suitable for fashion use and material use? Because that must have been quite a complex process as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is still a complex process because we first started with materials for handbags, and then we started to supply for footwear. And then we started to to supply for automotive in some projects. And so the R&D is a never-ending spiral. It's a work that is always challenging, and there's always to improve. There's always something to improve, something to change, something to incorporate. The thing is that it is complicated to make like the cactus feedstock to coexist with the synthetic part of it. There is chemistry involved, but chemistry is not bad. What is bad is using toxic chemistry without consciousness. We don't even use toxic chemistry. Sometimes in some other industries is necessary, but they just abuse it because it's efficient, because it's cheap, and they don't care about the output or the side effect that they're causing. In our case, for example, some customers say, okay, I want to use backer in the product, and I want it to be polyester. Why? Because I don't want to make a shoe with cotton because it's not going to be durable. I want it to be polyester. Okay. Durability is also sustainability. Fair enough. But we will go out to source like recycled polyester. So in that sense, we are already, okay, so my material has synthetic content in it, has polyester, but is recycled, and it is attacking or tackling the pollution problematic in another way. Instead of being biodegradable, it is rescuing a waste material that was already out there in circulation, like in a landfill or in the ocean, and then it's given a second life in a product. It's about making consciousness of okay, like how biodegradable and how plant-based can I go? And when I have to rely on a synthetic material, I need to make sure that synthetic do not have any toxicity first, and second, to source to see if it's gonna be recycled, to enhance the sustainability aspects of it. When I talk about toxicity, I'm talking about phthalates, DMF, I'm talking about heavy metals, I'm talking about all these substances that make not only the material toxic during its process and harming people working with it in the manufacturing process, but also when discarded. And then if recycled, also it will pollute. Like for example, some people say like, oh yeah, I use like PVC, for example. I say like, okay, so I use PVC, and then PVC I can recycle, and then I can use it, transform into another product. But nobody really wants to recycle PVC because PVC is very cheap. It's just better for them to buy a new one. And it's loaded with toxic chemicals. It doesn't degrade, disappear before that happens, So why the industry is just like sometimes nowadays is changing. That's thankfully, but for many years they were like in the PVC world, and it was just so irresponsible because there is synthetic chemistry that could be used to replace PVC a long time ago to reduce the impact of that. But it wasn't applied until most recent years because of now there is pressure to do something about caring about the environment. But before they didn't, and it was just like cost driven. And so that's something that we don't do. We don't play the cost game in terms of we are not competing with PVC at all. What we are doing here is offering a technological material, an advanced material, which offers a solution to many of the problems that we are currently facing in this industry. That's what we do.
Obviously, it's been just over a year since you've launched this now. And obviously, I can see that you've had, was it the Green Product Award, and you won, was it an Innovation Award with LVMH? Mm-hmm. So people are, noticing this and taking note of all your hard work and why this is such an amazing approach to a leather alternative. What else has sort of been happening? I know you mentioned previously that there's been some talks or something with the automotive industry. Is this something that can be translatable and work well there? And
oh yeah, very, very, very exciting. In the automotive world, we have been received and perceived very, very well. There are great synergies going on right now with major OEMs around the world. They have all the disposition to test the material, to try it out, to profile it into an automotive feedstock, which is something very standardized, very elaborated, and they are being very kind in that sense that they are guiding us, they are helping us, they are genuinely interested in using our materials to reduce their carbon footprint. They have shared some very exciting news that they have like open sustainability department, sustainability leaders, and they have like their very ambitious goals to reduce emissions, to make like their production lines much more efficient, and to there is like all these electric power vehicles that is coming. And so it's very inspiring to see that there is really something big going on in all the industries, and there is a transition which is taking place as we speak, and it feels just great to be able to contribute in our area with material. And it's inspiring to talk to these people that we have the same mindset. It's like, yeah, let's work together and do something to reduce like our footprint in this world. It's fun.
It's amazing. It sounds so exciting, and like you say, like to work with people that are like-minded is just amazing, isn't it? Like what comes out of that creative energy is just and such a big industry to get involved with as well. Could make such a positive impact. Actually, recently was thinking about vehicles just personally. So I think just to be able to have the option to have something that's easily cleanable, that has all the elements that leather has, but doesn't have that kind of negative connotation attached to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's amazing.
And that's something that can be perfectly achieved, no question about it. It needs a lot of work, yes, but it can be done. It's possible, 100%. Yeah, we have some. Deserto is our line of materials for fashion, for footwear, upholstery. But we have developed a new line which is called Desertex. DESERTTEX.
Ah, okay. Yeah, this is new to me. I don't know much about this yet.
Yes. It doesn't have double S. It has one S and double T. So that line, it is a line that was developed only for materials for automotive applications. Specifically talking about like seating, paneling, all the main areas where leather is used. And so far, the feedback from the industry has been great. They are loving the trials that we are sharing with them, the improvements. They are very excited, and we're moving very, very quickly on that. That is something that we are very happy about. Yeah.
Well, the impact will be absolutely huge. It's such an exciting time. Has there been, because I'm assuming since you launched a year ago that things are just moving now at a very quick pace as more and more people are becoming aware. I mean, is there any other really exciting things in the pipelines for you? Obviously, I've seen the impact to the fashion industry, and we've just discussed automotive. Have you got any other things that objectives for this year, next year, 5 years?
Well, we have so many exciting projects in the fashion industry as well. Footwear. We are planning how best to reduce the transportation timing, and also reduce the cost of our products. We want to establish like a branch office and a warehouse in Europe to bring our materials closer to our main market. We want to open another one in Asia. All this with the idea of make life easier for everybody, and they won't find like a reason why not to use like plant-based materials. In this case, we are working on making life easier for them. Work. There's so many.
I bet you're so busy. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. There's so much that must be going on right now. I was just thinking about that transition of, so you've been, so that from that innovation phase where you're testing lots of things and then you hit a breakthrough and you discover that you found something that could be translatable to fashion, to automotive, etc. How did you then go from that point to taking the material to market?
Well, Marta and I, we work very hard with a lot of experts in different, they were like chemistry, biochemistry, nanotechnology, agriculture, design. So we just like got together with the best of the best here to make sure that the development was gonna succeed. And there was a time where most of the experts that were working with us told us like, no, that it's not gonna work. This is just not gonna work. And we insisted. Marta and I was like, no, yes, it will work, and we're getting closer. Look, like this sample is better than the last one, and it's taking long, but it's working. I mean, we're doing progress. We kept working, and then one day we got this call from the laboratory and said like, oh, you need to come. Say, okay, we're going. And then when we arrived to the laboratory, they showed us one sample that had the same aspect as leather. It just looked great. But then when you test it like on resistance, it just broke. It didn't work.
Like a brittle,
Yeah. And so we were like, oh my God, but we're close, right? And so then we have all this nanotechnology and molecular bonding experts, and they were trying to figure out okay, so how are we gonna make this material to bond strongly so it will resist all these tearing tensile forces and it's not gonna break at all. And so we started to work on that, and we didn't have the final version yet when we said, you know what, Linea PL is coming in October. And we were in that was August, and then we heard about the expo in October, and we said, you know what, we are getting so close, we're gonna make it, let's just book the stand and everything. So we booked the stand, and we didn't even know if we were gonna have the final material by then. And you won't believe it, 1 week before the expo, 1 week before the expo, we finished the formulation. We made sure that it was gonna comply with the standards, and we just pack a few meters and we just jump into plane. We went to Italy. And then people loved it, and then
I love that so many people said to you throughout that process as well, oh, it's not going to work, and oh, you should probably just give up now, and you just thought, no, do you know what, I'm just going to keep going with it. I think that's great. That's such an inspirational way of looking at things for anybody that might have an idea anywhere that might be listening to this podcast, or that just thinks, do you know what, I'm going to keep going with it because I feel that passionately about making a difference, that even if the experts are saying I can't do it, I'm just going to see it through and see what happens.
Yeah, we I guess that's Marta and I were very stubborn, and we're like, nah. It's and yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we we quit our jobs. We were focusing 100% of our time in this. So we were there is no going backwards, It's we already risk it all.
You're so committed at that point, aren't you? That it's just, you've got to just keep going with it, because it'd be so disheartening to stop that far down the journey when you've already had so many positive steps along the way.
Yeah.
were you aiming for like a leather alternative, or did you not know what could come out of it? So the whole way through that was kind of like the objective was to go for like a scene. Yeah. Because I was going to ask you about why people should be looking to take innovative steps to making a difference for the planet and climate change and sustainability and stuff. But actually we kind of covered it, because it isn't just about one company like yourselves who are doing their bit, but it's kind of you talking about your relationships with other companies, like their sustainability divisions, etc., and joining forces. And that's the only way that will make a global difference, isn't it? By putting together and going, okay, so your sustainability department is already looking at electric cars and this and that, but actually let's look at the interior, let's work with Deserto about that and see how we can join forces and make this car fully sustainable, because at the moment it's only half done, isn't it, really? So what's next then? So are you in talks with lots of companies now on a global scale about I expect COVID sort of put a little bit of a spanner in the works, has it?
To be honest, we all see this as a reminder as that we are running like out of time, and that we have to be faster on taking action into not operating in an irresponsible way in any industry, having much more consciousness about taking care of our environment. And naturally this is taking care of ourselves as well. And somehow it's also pushing, the industries, like they had their agendas, and now like after the COVID, they're like pushing faster on sustainability. There is something a transition that is taking place, not only in sustainability, but bringing everything into digital platforms, applying artificial intelligence, doing like 3D prints, and so showing products in websites instead of showing in a physical store in the shopping mall. It's like everything is being migrated to the digitalization of retail, and which is great, because then you consume less energy. You don't like have to put a lot of people in one place. You don't have to waste so many like samples, that eventually are going to be discarded. The industries, I think that took hard lessons with the COVID, because it really like show the flaws of the fashion industry along the whole value chain, supply of feedstocks, logistics, warehousing, retailing. Like there are unfortunately so many stores, like physical stores, that they had to shut down, and so they are like now thinking on how to like bring this onto the digital platforms, which is good, very exciting, and the materials is also one important part of it, like not only changing the way the materials are offered to the public, but also the materials that are being used and how traceable are these and friendly with the environment. We just see ourselves as contributing in these industries from our category, and who knows, I mean, as I told you, we are very distracted. We are very we love new things, we love to explore. That, I mean, at least for me, that's my passion. I like to develop, and we may have something else coming on soon. I don't know.
It actually blows my mind, like when you were talking about it earlier, like all the things you've had to consider and think about in order to keep things sustainable. Just there's so much that you need to think about. So it's not even like what you're doing now, but what are those next steps going to look like? We can harvest this and that's all sustainable, but then how do we get it to the next level? Is there many other people that are doing anything similar to this, or is this a completely unique, in every single way, product to the market at the moment? And if so, how do you protect that process?
Fortunately for all of us, there are many materials that are plant-based, but they are very different. There are different solutions in different industries. Ours is a patent material, patent process. It is a unique way of doing an alternative to animal leather, giving competitive advantages not only in performance but in comprehensive care of the environment. Many times some people ask if we know our competition, who are they? I mean, we know them and we are friends with most of them, and we don't even see them as like competition. We see them as what we were just talking like a few minutes ago. It's like people with the same mindset, working for the same goal. We have different technologies, different processes, different ways of approaching this problematic that is a problematic of all of us. We think that, yes, we're in business, but the market is way too big and the opportunities to make a change are very, very big for everybody. And
I agree totally.
We are like grains of sand in a beach, and it's like there's so much thing to be covered and done by us. So the more we are, the better. And it's like we need people to help these industries mature in terms of sustainability and do the transition, and cannot be done by only one company.
Yeah, I was the same when the first few podcast episodes that I did. I spoke to other creative professionals. Some of the feedback that I got was just, they're your competitors. And I thought, I don't really look at it like that, though, because I think we can all learn things from each other. But especially when it comes to sustainability, you want to encourage other people to do it, because it means that there's a bigger and better impact for everyone in the long run.
Exactly, yes.
So just in terms of the brand and stuff, then, just to take it a little bit back to marketing, which is kind of what I do, how did you establish what your values would be? So I think I read it's a blend between sustainability and performance.
I will say that our values are best described in sustainability and responsible innovation. Because, innovations are not always good.
No, that's very true.
It's responsible innovations along sustainability. Yes.
Have you got any advice for anybody creative that might be looking to try and be more sustainable in their approach?
I'll say that what works for me is to have this curiosity, this hunger to do things, to try new things. Even if it is not like something you may enjoy, you can do it for a while and learn something out of it. The key is never to stay still. And when you feel like you're stuck, just move and learn. At the degree that you start to do this, then you start to get a lot of tools from many different things that then when you meet the right people, you can start to place all these ideas and they make sense. And it's also a big engine, we are just one piece of it. And then we have to work with so many other people that make the actual engine run. And I think that by making ourselves filled with information from many, many things, and try things by yourself too, I've tried, for example, so many things by myself that I had no previous experience on. And I just do it for the sake of a challenge, I just try it, I do it, try things, and bring projects to the table with the right people, with people you may bring something different that on the table that you may lack, and just try things.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been so lovely to learn more about. I was already a little bit obsessed with it from just what I read probably a year ago. To actually speak to yourself is a great honour. I really appreciate you giving me your time today. Thank you. That certainly has filled up my green cup for the day. That truly was such an insightful conversation. for someone who has such dedication to sustainability and changing the way this is approached within the fashion and automotive industries. I'm feeling incredibly inspired, and I hope you guys feel the same. Look out for Deserto in terms of footwear and fashion, but also Desertex, as these guys will likely be behind the vegan leather we have in our cars of the future. Thank you to Adrian for gifting me some time to record this episode. A takeaway to this entry is something I'm always banging on about. One person, one company can only do so much. Joining forces with like-minded people is where the magic happens. It is here that big change occurs. Look for your tribe and collaborate. Ask for their advice. Work together and not against each other. If you like this episode, I've got loads more gorgeous convos coming, so please remember to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you can, please rate and review, as it helps me to keep up this work. If you have a question for me, the host, or for the guest, please drop me an email to hello@koalamarketing.co.uk. This podcast was brought to you by Koala Marketing, a small ethical marketing agency with big values. Working with small and medium-sized businesses, we help you to tell your story and help others to fall in love with your brand. Visit www.koalamarketing.co.uk to learn more. Lastly, if you're a change maker with a story to tell, I'd love to speak to you. Please get in touch.